Hey everybody, it's Rob the Metal Guy here with another vinyl and CD video update talking about my collection. Got some new releases that came in. I had ordered two new releases from Sentient Ruin, bands that put out albums this year that I'll be talking about. And then I got a couple of releases from my life with the Thrill Kill Kult, and I will go into that. But first, I'd like to apologize. I've been away for a while. I haven't made a video, and I'd say decent amount of time. I was trying to keep it regular, like every week, but came down with the COVID. I'm doing good now. It was one of those things though where when you get sick, it takes a lot out of you. So unfortunately, couldn't do a video last week, and like I was kind of hoping when I got these new releases. But it's definitely given me some time to listen over while I was sick and, couldn't do much, just, resting, laying low, got to listen to some of the music. But I'll be talking about that, the new releases I got, as well as I will bring up, and I've been doing this now in my videos, I've been giving shout outs, and I'll be talking about a band from the Bay Area that I'm a huge fan of, young band. Actually, they're not young anymore. I feel so odd when I say that because they've been around now since like 2011, 2012, when I first saw them. Hemotoxin is their name. I'll get into discussing them. But let's start with the vinyls, actually. How about we'll go with the two new releases from Sentient Ruin that came out this year. I had pre-ordered these. Both of them came out really in around like October-ish time period, but I pre-ordered for the vinyls, and it takes a little time when you pre-order, but it's all good. Sentient Ruin always delivers in the end. I've never had issues with them when I ordered anything from Sentient Ruin. Come to think of it, the owner, he's very responsive. If you have questions or if there's delays, he sends out notification. And right now, in terms of pre-ordering, I'd say vinyl, just in the world of extreme music, I've noticed, and this is actually for a lot of albums too, not just extreme metal, I believe, is having dealt with this issue, it takes some time if you order, right? Pre-orders, and I believe the factories, I've heard stories, pressing, you can have delays. So sometimes you're thinking, well, an album comes out, this date, I should get it right that date. There might be a little delay, and it's usually no big deal. It is what it is, unfortunately, it's situations. But Sentient Ruin, always coming through, and let's talk about the album. I'm doing my top 10 albums of the year list right now, and I have a good idea, but I can tell you it's very difficult. The top 5 is probably one of the strongest top 5s I've come across in recent years when putting together my top 10 albums list. And Sentient Ruin is going to have a lot of bands in my top 10 for sure. And this one, it's up for debate for number 1 in my opinion. Ceremonial Bloodbath, sophomore release, Genesis of Malignant Entropy. Check that out. Great album cover. Huge fan of the artwork that this band has. I love their first album too, Tides of Blood. The artwork's great, but musically, talk about a punishing band. The bestial, blackened death metal sound, raw, ritualistic. As you see, it's on like this blood red vinyl. Looks so great. And really impressed just by the packaging and everything with it. You get the lyric sheet, artwork, just everything about this release. Just so well done. Just the presentation and this band's sound. I can go on and on about this album and the riffs, the brutality. It just sounds pure devastating from the start until the finish. Ceremonial Bloodbath, arguably one of my favorite extreme metal bands to come out within the last few years. Tides of Blood is such a phenomenal debut album. It's a little more darker, but this album to me has a little more intensity thrown at it. I was listening to it today, and I have to say The Boneless One is one of my favorite songs off this album. I just love the just nasty, savage riff in that song, and just solid musicianship all around. I really like how this album came out. They definitely did not disappoint. As I said, I felt that the debut album, Tides of Blood, is a little darker, has a little more insidious tone, but this release is just an all-out annihilation at times. Like, it is really good, really intense, and the music and the recording quality is also well executed. Right? It captures, they don't sound sloppy, they just sound fierce. Like, I'm talking, there is a ferocious side to them on this album, so I was really pleased. Check it out. This is Ceremonial Bloodbath, Genesis of Malignant Entropy. And when I do my top 10 albums of the year list, I'm going to put that on the blog, the rockandmetaltemple.blogspot.com that I run. But I'm also going to do a video, I'm thinking. I'm going to give my top 10 albums and talk about them. And don't be surprised if that album is not, number 1 or easily in the top 5. Like, this release, that's a great album. And here's another brilliant album that came out from Sentient Ruin. And like I say, don't be surprised if you see this in the top 10 albums of the year list from Ch'ahom. They are a blackened death metal, ritualistic blackened death metal band from Germany, which is very fascinating because the album's concept and their previous releases, this is their first full-length album, Knots of Abhorrence. This is, the first full-length album, and they've done a couple EP demo releases, I believe, and Sentient Ruin put those out on cassette. And I really liked what I heard, and it had this Mayan ritualistic, the sounds of like the flutes, the jungle noises. I mean, it was like pure jungle, sinister, evil spirit, right, energy coming from it. And I was just blown away, and I couldn't believe they're from Germany, right? And it has this, like I said, Mayan kind of lore surrounding their music, but they're just really solid musicians. I like the construction of the riffs. The compositions are phenomenal. There's a bit of progressive rock mentality behind some of their, I'd say, arrangements and how they come up with things and how they transition. It's a very creative sounding, like ritualistic extreme metal experience. And I love the artwork too on this. It's very unique, it's very abstract. And then the back has like the Mayan kind of the very like primitive tribal like death imagery. And color of this vinyl is really great. So you can see this like blue turquoise. It's just magnificent. Aqua blue, excuse me. I'm horrible with describing this color right now, but it looks awesome and it sounds great. This band, Ch'ahom, is just phenomenal. Really, to me, they're one of the up-and-coming extreme metal bands on Sentient Ruin, and I hope to hear more from them. I love those early releases that I heard, and getting to see them do a full-length was awesome, and glad it came out this year, and I'm glad I grabbed myself a copy of that. So those are the 2 new releases I got from Sentient Ruin. Shout out to Sentient Ruin Laboratories. Amazing label. Do not be surprised if not only do you see bands from the label in my top 10, but I do a Rob the Metal Guy Awards, and Sentient Ruin, they've been dominating, and they've been getting Label of the Year quite often. It's crazy. I mean, they're like, right now, I would describe them as the Roman Reigns, or, for wrestling fans, or if you are a fan of the old school wrestling, they're like the Harley Race. I was going to say Ric Flair, but Ric Flair's become like a creep, and I don't like Ric Flair. Freaking, he's gone off the deep end, and his energy drink, that's just woo energy. I would never drink that. It's disgusting. So I've kind of pushed him aside. But no, I mean, Sentient Ruin is really doing well. I mean, they have put out some great releases, not just this year, but in previous years. And they're at a label you can depend on, right? And right now in the world, it's very hard to depend on much of anything. I feel like, leadership, Hollywood, for example, you can't depend on those people. They suck. I mean, movies right now. So when I look at an entity that I just can turn to and say, okay, I know they're going to deliver, Sentient Ruin, number 1. Okay, here's a couple CDs I decided I really wanted to get from my life with the Thrill Kill Kult. They had this on their website. Really like their website. I also got a t-shirt. If you're familiar, if you watch some of my previous videos, I have a couple of their albums on vinyl. I'm a huge fan of My Life with the Thrill Kill Kult industrial act from the late 80s, early 90s. They keep going. I saw them live and put on a great show this year in San Jose. Probably one of the best performances I've seen, and just one of the best set lists. Like the set list they came up with her that night, it was unbelievable. Like the songs, the way they flowed, and just the crowd response. I just was really happy. And I hadn't, actually, that was the first concert I'd been to in like a long time because of COVID and just everything, right? You know, the world, the pandemic, and just, I don't know, it just came about, and I was so happy to finally see them live, and they just put on a killer show. But I wanted to get, so I'll talk about these releases. This is Sinister Whispers. Actually, I should be starting, excuse me, with technically the first. This is Sinister Whispers. This is the Wax Trax years. So this album combines their first album, their second album, and then also I believe you do get part of the third album, Sexplosion. But first album, I See Good Spirits and Bad Spirits. I pre-ordered that. That's actually now available on Wax Trax Records, so go check that out. Confessions of a Knife, the second album, is my favorite album from them. And actually, it's probably one of my favorite albums of all time. I love Confessions of a Knife. And so it's so cool. They have a lot of the songs from that album on this. But you also do have like Leather Sex is on here. They have some songs from other, releases from that period. But in different sounds, which I love about My Life with the Thrill Kill Kult. Different mixes, and they're a very creative band in that sense with their sound and style. They do a lot of remixes of different songs. I like the version of Do You Fear for Your Child on this. It's actually, I mean, it's probably, again, one of my favorite tracks from them, as well as, I would say, A Daisy Chain for Satan. The bass riff in that is great. And then Cooler Than Jesus. But if you want to check out, and if you've never heard of My Life with the Thrill Kill Kult, I would actually say this is a great place to start. This right here, the Sinister Whispers, the Wax Trax years. It would be a perfect introduction because it combines a lot of the songs that I would recommend right off the bat. So check it out. If you haven't heard of them, this would be a great first release to maybe get into them. See, next is the Bedroom Tapes, 1987 to 1988. Really cool artwork there. I actually have a shirt with this I got at the concert they had for sale because I love the devil face right there and how it was drawn. It's really cool. But this is a bunch of early recordings. This is before the first album when Groovy Man and Buzz McCoy were just getting together and kind of experimenting. They were really working on what they thought would be the film score for a movie they were kind of going to put out, like a grindhouse film, right? Low budget, kind of sexploitation, film, right? Something, in the homage of the 70s in that period, right? With films. And it actually ended up, they came up with a lot of this material that turned into, hey, let's start a band and let's record an album. But listening to these Bedroom Tapes, and it's crazy because they recorded this in Buzz McCoy's, I believe it was his apartment. Yeah, you actually see they show there's like a little apartment there. And that's amazing that they recorded a lot of this stuff. There's 13 tracks on here. Perfect number for this band. And it's just very creative industrial music. And the early kind of formation of songs that you can hear some of the stuff that would later become full-length songs from them, right? They would expand on these tracks. So these are just the kind of the rough drafts. And it's so cool because you hear the lyrics, right? Groovy Man is saying these lyrics and you go, wait a minute, that's going to be on, another album in the future here. That's the early part, of this song. And that's so cool. And to me, it's like a snapshot of history. So I'm very glad I picked this up. Great release. If you're interested, check it out. Sinister Whispers, Volume 4. Industrial music fans, I think, will love this. It's very, like I said, it has that old school, late 80s, early industrial sound. And later they go on, right? From this period, they go on to Wax Trax Records. very iconic, influential label in terms of industrial music. And sure enough, they become one of the most influential bands in the world of industrial rock. And I would say electronic music for sure. A lot of bands have taken from them. My Life with the Thrill Kill Kult, unbelievable act. I'm a huge fan. All right, so let's talk about Hemotoxin. I want to give a shout out to this band. They're working on new material. I'm really excited. This band is from Contra Costa County, I guess Antioch, Pittsburgh area, and the Bay Area here. And that's why I've always liked them. I saw them open for Havoc. That was like 2012 or 13, and I was blown away. Their singer Michael Anthony Chavez is such a great front man. He's such a cool dude. I've known him now for many years. I've reviewed a lot of their albums. I've interviewed the band on a few occasions, one for a video, actually the documentary that you can check here on my YouTube channel, Rising from the Bay. I got to interview Hemotoxin. They were a part of that. Very appreciative of them for doing that. They're such great guys there. And then Michael has just been really working hard. He's sort of the soul of the band. They've gone through different lineup changes, but at the end of the day, Michael has persevered. And what they did was they re-released this album. I believe it's their first release. This is Between Forever and the End. Great technical death metal, technical thrash. If you're a fan of death, toxic, you need to check out Hemotoxin. This group just captures that sound, that attitude, and very similar to Death, Michael, in my opinion, has continued to deliver when it comes to releases, riffs, coming up with ideas. He very much follows the Chuck Schuldiner kind of formula and what he's accomplished, I'd say, with each new release, right? He's pushing himself as a guitarist, and the creativity that's come out of their most recent releases, I've been very impressed by. Biological Enslavement, great album, but then Restructure the Molded Mind kind of pushes it even more into that world of like death, cynic, atheist, right? You're hearing this just creativity in terms of the guitar playing, the dynamics, the leads. And I'm looking forward to this new material. I really am. I can't wait to see what they do. But check this out because it's actually a really good release, especially for the band was very young at the time. And one of the songs I love, The Shadow Over Innsmouth, referencing H.P. Lovecraft. And like most great death metal bands, right? You know, Death, Massacre, the list can go on, right? Referencing H.P. Lovecraft, so many old school death metal bands you could, took influence, right, when writing songs, lyrics, and imagery. But I love this song. I heard him perform it live, and I was blown away. Great performances from them over the years. I've seen them a handful of times, and I hope to see them again. I really do. They're a band, and I tell this to people, in terms of the Contra Costa County, there's not a lot of great metal bands from this area. We could go through some for sure. Everyone, when you think of metal, right, you look at San Francisco, Oakland, but what Hemotoxin has done, especially in recent years, they're the band that's been, to me, kind of the unsung heroes in the world of metal. They really deserve a lot of credit for what they've accomplished. And that's why I wanted to give a shout out to them again, because I saw that they're working on new music, and I have this CD. I just love talking about it. It's such a good release, as well as all of their releases. I would check out Hemotoxin on their Bandcamp. Great metal band. All right, everybody, that is the video. Trying to keep it short. As you know, I do kind of ramble on. I apologize. But if you enjoyed, like and subscribe. I will have more lined up and present to you videos and collection updates. Top 10 list. I'll be also doing that. I can't wait to do a video for that, as well as, of course, on my blog. Every year I do a top 10, so check it out, rockmetal.blogspot.com. rockmetaltemple.blogspot.com. All right, everybody, you have a good night, and I will be back at you with hopefully another video, either an update or that top 10, or even maybe something else. We'll see. But like I said, I'll try to keep it regular with the content. Try my best. Anyway, take it easy. Later.